we've been so impressed. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and get us started. Welcome. We appreciate you coming here, and for the topics, I hear most of you are here for the comprehensive plan, which is exciting. And I'm sure the representatives from BIRD are also excited about that too. Well, I'm Mayor Tammy DeVere here with the City of Meridian, and I started with I was on planning and zoning when we first started to talk about the comprehensive plan that we're just concluding. So it's kind of fun to bookend as my time as an elected official with the city with comprehensive planning. It's very important for the future of our city. It has helped us by growing for the comprehensive plan, grow gracefully and thoughtfully. In addition to that, it's important to myself and to our city council members that it's a publicly involved comprehensive plan. And whether you've been a resident for 2 months or 20 years, if you are living within the city limits or of our area of impact, your voice and your contributions are important. So we appreciate your time tonight. We also want to thank Cincy for allowing us to use this beautiful facility. And if you haven't been here, take times afterwards. It's not too hot outside to walk the campus. It's absolutely gorgeous. What an amazing asset for our community to have Cincy as a corporate partner. Why town hall meetings? We do these town halls. We've been doing it for the last 15 years as a way to bring City Hall to you and to bring topics of interest to our citizens in an informal environment so that we can have real conversations. So we look forward to those real conversations tonight, and we'll get going here in a moment. We do have a couple of our city council members here that I'd like to recognize. Our council president, Joe Gordon. Joe, will you stand up? Sure. And City Councilman Trey Burns. He's one of our newer councilmen. And Trey was on our Parks Commission as well as our Planning and Zoning Commission prior to running for City Council. So his time with the city has been, he's well invested in our community. I will, I think my only other slide is this next one. Right? And so I just want to Make sure you note that we have flyers in the back on all of these different events. Summer is a busy time in the city of Meridian. We have a lot going on, and I think that's what continues to make this a great community to live in. Special note, our firefighters' 40th annual salmon barbecue. This salmon barbecue has been a staple in our community, and it's something that we all look forward to. It's at Kleiner Park, and we hope that you come on out. National Night Out is also one of those great community building events. If you do not have an event that's happening in your neighborhood, you can call our office or the police department and see if your neighborhood wants to do something like this. It's a great way to get to know our local law enforcement, our firefighters, our elected officials, and your neighbors, most importantly. National Night Out is all about building our communities within our community, and those are our neighborhoods. So that's also a great event, and we hope that you check out our list of events. So with that, I believe I'm turning this over to Caleb Hood. Caleb and Brian McClure have been working the last 16 months on this comprehensive plan. They have gone to extraordinary lengths to get out to community events to make sure that we hear from our citizens. Because again, as I said earlier, your voice is important. This is your plan. You're helping us design the future for our Meridian for the next 20 years. So Caleb, here you go.
Thank you, Mayor. As the Mayor mentioned, my name is Caleb Hood. I'm the Planning Division Manager. I also am overseeing the comprehensive plan, which the Mayor just spoke of. I'm part of the team that is working to advance this project. There's a couple of other members that are also here on that team. Councilman Mark serves as a council liaison back to the steering committee that's been established on this project. So I want to just begin kind of touching on, again, the Mayor mentioned it in her opening remarks, but what is a comprehensive plan, just so you kind of understand a little bit more of what the actual plan entails. So it is Meridian's guide for future growth and development. It sets citywide goals and policies, and it's the tool by which the city reviews proposed development applications. So anything that goes before our Planning and Zoning Commission and City Council, this document is used to guide and to direct the appropriateness of that individual application. And it helps the decision makers understand if a proposed project is in alignment with the vision that the community has come up for itself. But it's not code or law, so it is a guiding document. It sets more broad-based policies on again, growth and development. It also contains a map that designates future land uses and where those specific land uses like housing, industrial areas, commercial areas, parks, schools should be within our community. So it includes, again, the map, some text and some policies, describes the future land uses and service needs. Needs such as sewer and water, again, parks, transportation needs are all contained in this plan. I will also mention just the map, we call it the future land use map, or the FLUM. It includes our area of city impact. So everything you see on color here is not current city limits, but it's our eventual city limits, our ultimate city limits, or our growth boundary. And that's going to be important as we have a little exercise tonight and we talk about that a little bit. So why update the plan or adopt a new plan? Our current plan, our last plan was adopted in 2012. Our communities changed quite a bit since 2012. Most communities, a comprehensive plan can last them 10, 12, maybe even 15 years. We've had such a rapid rate of growth, it was time to go out to new community members and existing community members, rather 2 months or 20 years, and just make sure the vision, the direction the city is heading really reflects the community's goals for our city. So we've been doing that, like the Mayor said, for about 15, 16 months now, with steering committee oversight, going out to the public. Brian and I were at several events last summer and into the fall, trying to ask people what they value and their vision for the community. So this kind of shows a little bit about the values and vision. Again, we did last summer. out to the public at a lot of different events like these town halls and at various in parks and those types of things. We've developed some choices and opportunities in a draft plan, and that's where we're at now. We're asking people to review that draft plan to make sure we heard you correctly and that's reflected in this draft. So we really are encouraging you to go and review the draft document online. I've got a website I'll share with you. There's also a flyer that has a website or a QR code if you want to go there later and provide some more insight and review the plan. So there are 5 vision themes in the plan. Premier, evolving, livable, connected, and vibrant. And they all have a description, which I'll read in a little bit. We have a little survey that's what clickers are for. And then associated value statements. So they dig a little deeper into what does this mean. And then again, the policies that direct growth and development. So the first couple of phases was all memorialized in a vision document that is also on the project website. You can go and read, and again, hopefully reflects where you'd like to see our community grow over time. So, as I mentioned, we have a kind of a fun activity, and a lot of these questions are actually on that project website. But we're trying to reach out to some folks and understand how we're doing with the plans thus far. So, you should have received one of these clickers. So if you didn't, raise your hand real quick, and we'll get one to you. But everybody should have. I don't know if you can. Participate. You're allowed, but I don't know. We're trying to get more from the public, so city staff and whatnot, it's not inappropriate for you to participate, but we're really trying to hear from the public a little bit more on some of these. So, a real quick shout out to Haley, who's helping me. She's with Compass, or the Community Planning Association of Southwest Idaho. So Compass actually owns these clickers, and they're available to reserve or rent. And you get Haley to help you with the presentation and show you instantaneous results. So this is real-time polling. So you'll see what the rest of your neighbors and friends think about these questions we're asking tonight. So it is anonymous. It'll record and display, like I just mentioned. And we're trying to understand, again, at a pretty high level. We're not going to get too technical with these questions tonight, but how we're doing, again, with this draft plan. So pretty important here, you can change your answer. If you're like, oh, I like that answer, and then you read 2 more down, and you're like, oh, I like that one better. It's whatever the last button you push is. However, we have 2 questions that are a rank question. So you rank them 1 to 3 or 1 to 4. Once you start that one, there's no going back. So make sure you have that one, and we limit it to 3 or 4 choices, so it's not too long there. But you can change your answer up until, and I'll give a 3-second warning or whatever to say, hey, we're going to close the polling. So this will also help us prioritize some of the issues as we move forward. So kind of cliche, but if everything's a priority, nothing is a priority, right? So we need to kind of understand, once we adopt this plan, what should we start working on first? What's most important to get right and really jump in and do? Not that we won't do everything, but where should we really dedicate more resources to really start to put us down that right track to see the future we want to realize. Okay, so I think let's jump in. And this one really is just to kind of see how many clickers we have in the audience. So it's kind of a fun question just to test the system. This isn't anything with the comp plan. But the question is, why don't animals play poker in the jungle? Press A, or 1, for no cards. D, or 2, for no money. C, or 3, for no time. And D, too many cheetahs. But I'm pumped, right? Okay. So everybody, I think we're live. So if you want to just go ahead and press the button. Again, this one doesn't really matter, so just press a button, and we're going to understand how many clickers we have. That way, when we get going through this process, if there's still 3, 4, 5 people hanging out, we'll kind of encourage you to finish up your answer. So I'm going to give about 3 more seconds on this one. So last call, press your buttons now, and we're going to close the polling. That joke? Yeah. Bad dad joke. So most people got the joke, or just randomly push the button. So you're 5% too many cheaters. Okay, so it looks like we've got, how many did you get? 27? 26 clickers in the audience. So we're going to jump in then. So these are serious now. So before tonight, did you know the city was in the process of developing a comprehensive long-range plan? And this one really just helps me. How much more narrative do I need to give to some of these questions as we move forward? If everybody's heard about the plan, they know it, we'll just ask the questions and answer them. If not, I might give a little more context too. So did you know this was happening, or were you here to hear about e-scooters and you're like, what are you talking about? If you know about this and you participate, whether it be in person at a park or previous town hall or online, press A or 1. B, yeah, I think I remember hearing something about that. C, I had no idea, or D, I don't remember or don't know. So, but the polling is open, so if you would please choose one of those. I'm not going to leave this one open too long. It's a pretty simple question. So we'll count it down here, a couple seconds. Everyone in? All right, we're going to close the polling. Okay, so some people at least kind of knew this was out there. A handful of folks that also are here to learn something new, so that's good. Okay, thank you. Question 2. So many things are addressed in the comprehensive plan, like I mentioned kind of in the opening. So what aspects of the planning process are most important to get right? So A, or 1, is grassroots and citizen-based process. So it's the people's vision and the people's plan. B, or 2, collaborative community vision. So it's working together, and the plan is well representative of our overall community vision. C, strategic planning for growth. So it's a well thought out plan. D, in-depth analysis and data-driven tools, so numbers, data. E, alignment with other city plans like CIPs and parks plans and whatnot. Protecting private property rights. Or E, or G, ease of use and readability. So this one you can select as many. If they all apply, push all the buttons. If you like 1 or 2 or 3 or whatever. I see too many people still working on their clickers. I see some eyes up there. A couple more seconds maybe. Okay. Going good? All right, we're going to close the polling then. Distribute it pretty evenly there. It's like the top one is C, this is strategic planning. And then collaborative community vision came in close second. Okay, thank you. Question 3. Does the vision for a premier community, so this is one of the themes that we've developed through the outreach process, is Meridian as a premier community. A thriving, diverse, clean, safe, and secure community in which to live, work, and raise a family. Does that resonate with you? So A is yes, B is no, C is, let me think about it, or I don't know. Premier community, a thriving, diverse, clean, safe, and secure community in which to live, work, and raise a family. Okay, everyone good? I'm going to go ahead and close the polling then. Most people seem to think that resonates with a couple of 89%. Okay. All right, thank you. And we can just, by the way, we'll double back if any of these questions we want to go back and revisit at the end. We can spend a little bit of time doing that with some questions and answers. So digging a little deeper then in the community chapter of the plan, it intends to address each of these aspects. Which are you most excited about? And again, this is one you can select all of them, or one of them, or none of them. But as many as apply. Quality and attractive housing, diverse housing types and options for all income groups, safe neighborhoods with amenities, pathways, and public spaces, exceptional educational opportunities, public services and healthcare, diverse local economy, vibrant and accessible activity centers, and a business-friendly environment. You can select as many or as little as. I assume you all can read that when you would have moved forward, so I think good. No? Most everybody's done now. Just a couple more seconds and we're going to close it. So let's go ahead and close that one. Outside that, we jumped out a little bit. So that's safe neighborhoods with amenities, pathways, and public spaces. Everything else is pretty evenly distributed across the board. So safe neighborhoods. All right. On to question 5. So this is the next theme, evolving community. So does that vision of an evolving community as a community thoughtfully adapting to changes resonate with you? Meridian is thoughtfully adapting to changes. A or 1 for yes, B or 2 for no, C, don't know. one. All right, let's go to the top. Okay, so most people tend to agree with that statement as well. Okay, so here's one digging a little deeper then into evolving community, which intends to address each of these aspects. Which are you most excited about? Again, select as many as you feel appropriate. Approach for strategic and sustainable growth. Balanced and clarified land use designation. So that one is further defining our low, medium, high, and mixed use categories and what does that exactly mean within the plan. Infill and reinventing key areas, so our downtown, maybe 10-mile key districts. Compatible site design to minimize conflicts. So making sure that existing neighborhoods and new development come in and are compatible with each other. So new land uses with existing land uses. E is coordination. Coordination with service providers on long-term utility needs. F is recycling and solid waste reduction. And G is development aligned with capacity of services and infrastructure. These are all addressed in the draft plan, but which ones are you most excited about? Everybody's got a chance to respond when you respond to the action. Good. What's it? Okay. So go ahead and close this one. It's pretty evenly distributed. Looks like development aligned with capacity of service and infrastructure. I actually have a follow-up question on that one a little bit later in the class. So, but pretty close. Pretty evenly distributed. Okay. All right. Question 7. So here's the next theme: livable community. Is Meridian a community of family-friendly, healthy, and engaging places? Does that vision theme resonate with you? 1 for yes, 2 for no, and 3 for other or don't know. So I think 81% on the last couple of them. So generally that's right track with these statements. Okay, thank you. And then again, a little bit more in the livable community chapter. We're addressing all these again in the comp plan, but which one of them, it's kind of hard to get excited about some of this stuff, right? A little dry, but important. But which one is most exciting to you or select as many as why? Expanding access to parks and recreation facilities is A. B is park facilities to accompany population growth. C, improve park user experience. D, connected and comfortable network of pathways. E, stewardship of environment and natural resources. F, energy conservation and sustainability. G, clean water and clean air. H, hazard mitigation and preparation. And I, crime prevention and emergency services. Can't tell who's on their cell phone and who's clicking a clicker, but I think I generally have an idea. So give a couple more seconds. I'll go ahead and close it, I think. All right, so I got 2 at the top there. Looks like 4, connected and comfortable network of pathways. Pathways are big. I heard a lot about that one. About crime prevention and emergency services. So I know firefighters and police officers are probably got the clickers there. Huh? Okay, very good, thank you. 9. Okay, so vibrant community is the next overarching theme in the plan. Community strengthened by historic character and vibrant activity centers. Historic character, vibrant activity centers. Are communities strengthened by those? Does that resonate? Oh, okay. Vibrant community. Okay, thank you. So within that chapter, then there's a lot that's addressed in this chapter as well. Again, which ones are you most excited to hear more about or have the city address more? A would be distinct and engaging gathering places. B, Meridian's historic, cultural, and agricultural heritage. C, high-quality development and aesthetic design. D, neighborhood character and sustainability. E, community pride and identity. F, arts, community events, and cultural assets. So we can select as many as apply. Sorry, I'm not going to need that jokes. We'll move this along because I know people want to talk about e-scooters. All right. So arts, community events, and cultural assets. All right, that's interesting. All right. 11. By the way, there's 20 questions, so we're getting there. Does the vision for a connected community as a community of safe and efficient transportation resonate? Community of safe and efficient transportation. Something we're striving for. 26, everybody locked in? Final answer? We close to 26? Okay, let's try to close it. Okay. So this chapter, the Connected Community chapter, addresses all of the below, which one's most excited about? Walkability and bikeability. Multimodal corridors and complete streets. So multimodal corridors kind of accommodate bikes, walkers, motorists, freight, multiple modes. Scooters to get around. Scooters. Well, not until August. And complete streets. So complete street is where you envision the scooters to be. You can have a bike lane or a sidewalk for them to be on. Regional and, C, emerging transportation trends and technologies. D, regional and local connectivity. E, interconnectedness of mobility systems. So first and last mile, where actually Bird, that's something that can get you to a bus stop from your house. Maybe that's something that closes that gap, potentially to get you on a bus. So that's kind of what interconnectedness of mobility systems can also be. Coordination of freight and moving them to where those goods and services need to be as well. Let's go ahead and fill that one. Pretty easy, just to walkable, bikeable, and multimodal corridors and quick streets for the top two there. Okay. So of those themes we just went through, which one of those is the most important to you? It says most, but then it says select as many as apply. So I'll leave that to your discretion. If you want to just choose one, that's fair. If you think they're all important or something in between, have at it. And just a couple more seconds for those that may want to pick multiples. And close the polling. Driving, reverse clean, safety, secure community. Okay. All right. You said we're getting there, guys. Thank you for your participation this evening. So throughout the outreach process, we've heard quite a bit about the rising cost of housing. So one of the things that we're trying to explore a little more is what is an appropriate role for the city to help ensure housing options are attainable across all income levels. So this one, we're just asking you to pick one. Again, if you pick one and change your answer, that's fine. I'll give you a little bit of a notice there. But the first one is encourage accessory dwelling units, also known as granny flats or accessory dwelling units. Tiny homes, co-housing options, so kind of alternative housing options. B is expand public transportation and decrease mobility costs. Probably need to explain that one a little bit. Transportation costs across the U.S. are the fourth highest expense for an American household. Healthcare is number one. Food is right there, as well as your housing costs. So transportation is a big cost for most households. So if there's a way we can lessen the transportation cost burden, that could increase the amount that could go to rent or mortgage, is kind of the thought with that one. If we could make more general public transportation ways to still have mobility get around, increase the amount of money disposable income if you will to spend on rent or mortgage. C would be offer financial assistance, so whether it be a loan or a grant. For low to fixed income families to purchase a home, I'll just note that currently the city does receive community development block grant dollars from the federal government, and on an annual basis, it's probably around $30,000 to $40,000 we actually give to our housing authority to redistribute to help with down payment assistance for low to moderate income families to purchase a home. So we are kind of already doing a little bit of C. And D would be don't do those things, just let the market handle it, stay out of it. E would be other, don't know or don't have an opinion. A couple seconds on this one here. We'll go ahead and read responses like that. So expand public transportation, decrease mobility costs is at the top. 20% those say should be there. Okay. So this is one throughout the outreach process, reiterated the need to preserve and protect existing neighborhoods. One idea that has come up is establishing neighborhood districts. These districts or associations, I think Boise has associations, would be organized by the neighborhood, but they would be recognized, if you will, by the city, and there would be a partnership there. So whatever becomes a priority for that association or that neighborhood would be shared with the city, and we come up with a program to help implement whatever those initiatives or projects that are important to those sub-areas within our community. So things like maybe filling in sidewalk gaps, blighted buildings or lots, park improvements, those types of things, whatever important to that kind of sub-community. So should the city look to establish these districts or associations and kind of subdivide the city up into different neighborhoods? So A for yes, we should explore that, or B, now we have a lot of HOAs anyways, and they pretty much do the same thing, or even to know however you want, that was just my editorial. C, maybe don't know. All right, so pretty evenly split on this one. Okay. So similarly to exploring options here, another thing that we hear quite a bit is we're growing in all directions kind of simultaneously. So one of the options that are on the table, at least from the staff's perspective, that we've heard from the community thus far, is potentially putting geographical limitations on growth. So restricting annexation development to specific areas until areas already with services and infrastructure capacity are largely built out. So encouraging more infill and kind of filling within the existing city limits. I'm going to just make you recall the first slide with the map, the future land use map, our area of city impact. About 66 square miles. We're roughly half of that today. So this doesn't mean we wouldn't grow to the county line and butt up with Boise and CUNA and Eagle Star, but just that we would encourage or otherwise limit sprawl and infill, and there's some fiscal and environmental reasons to potentially explore this as well. So should the city explore areas, sub-areas of town, or otherwise encourage within existing city limits and restrict annexation and development on the fringe? So what do you think about that one? A, yes, we should explore that. B, no, come out of the market side. Or C, you want nothing? Something to explore anyways, maybe. Okay. All right, so these are the next two are the two ranking ones I mentioned. So when you start voting, there's no going back. So make sure you got this one in the right order you want to have your vote locked into. So you rank the following from highest to lowest. So the first one you press is your highest priority, last one lowest. For residential neighborhoods going forward. Parks, A is parks and usable open space areas. So the amount and quality of parks and usable open space area. B, neighborhood amenities. So those playgrounds, the pools, the clubhouses. That's high priority. Residential design standards and aesthetics. So again, coming into a subdivision and the first impression you have of that, or landscaping along the arterial roadway. Quality of building materials. Consistency in look and feel. So again, kind of goes hand in hand with quality building materials, but just some consistency throughout the city with building materials. So if you could rank those, 1, 2, 3. A to C. Okay, let's go ahead and close it. That doesn't help much. Okay, so I agree to that, but they're all important. I would think we're going to get away that none of them are important. So. Okay. So this is the other ranked one, again from highest to lowest. And this has to do with commercial and mixed use areas though. So the last one was residential, this is more in commercial. So similarly, A, high quality building materials, look, fit, and feel, architectural design of the building, some character there. Not just boxes with maybe a window or two. So that's important. Or B, aesthetic consistency with existing buildings, that they all work together and talk to each other, fit in with each other. Both between residential and commercial. So a commercial project going in next to residential, there's some similar things with the look, the feel, the massing of those buildings with the existing residential and vice versa. If a residential project comes in, it doesn't need to match necessarily, but they should work together. Connectivity meaning I can get to or connect from the commercial or office uses between the existing residential or adjacent residential uses. That's important. Or shared commercial residential use areas. So maybe a park or a plaza that's in between them that both people that are living there and people that are working there can go have lunch in a shared space. So if you can rank those 1 to 4. Go ahead and close that one down as well. And that, the shared commercial residential use areas is slightly above the other ones. Okay. Okay, so we're at the end. 19. This presentation and survey has helped me understand growth and development issues and how the community plans to address them through the comprehensive plan. 1, yes, this is very helpful. B, C, no, I knew all this stuff and this is a waste of time. I won't take offense. It's fine. It's fine. Okay. So the last slide, the last question I have for you is really, this is the most important one for me, is this was just kind of a teaser, but I really would encourage you to go to meridiancomplan.com, review the draft. You don't have to review the whole thing. Again, you kind of understand how the document's laid out now, at least you should, with the 5 themes. Go to 1 or 2 themes that you care about, review that, comment on that section. If you care about parks, pathways, go there, review that, comment on that. This is the last plan, and I won't hold you to it, but your committee, you're swearing to going to review the draft plan. A, you go there, B, no, C, maybe, or maybe you already have. All right, well, that's great. That surprises me. 40%, that's great.
Or 4%, please, Dad.
Yeah. They're here for e-scooters, and I'm wrapping up. So the last slide I have is just a thank you. I do have some questions. Again, we could double back and look at some of those results if there are any questions just in general about the comprehensive plan or process. I will ask you if you use the clicker, if you can pass it to the inside rows. We're going to pick those up so you don't walk out with them accidentally on your way out to see them. But thank you again for your time. I'll stand for a couple questions. I think we have a couple minutes anyways. for some questions. So, are there any questions about the comprehensive plan? Yeah.
You didn't mention anything about widening roads.
Yeah, so we work closely with the Ada County Highway District and the Idaho Transportation Department both, but the city does not have a roads department. We don't control our own destiny when it comes to the roads in our community. So ACHD has been part of developing this plan, this process, but they really control the purse strings and where projects happen, both with maintenance as well as new capacity, roadway improvements, and safety improvements. We do on an annual basis, though, through the mayor and city council, send a list of our community's priorities to them and advocate for those throughout the year. And again, work with them on when they're doing a project to make sure the complete streets, so if they have these bike lanes, extra wide sidewalks, because it's part of our pathways master plan, street lighting, those types of elements are also included to make sure they meet our community's needs. There are some policies in the draft plan in the transportation section that talk about the roads and the need to accommodate mobility in our community, and with the understanding that congestion is getting worse. So I didn't talk about it much except for just now, but it is in the plan. So again, I would encourage you to go to the plan, read those policies, see if it reflects what you think it should, and provide that comment.
Hi, Liz Strader. Nice to meet you. Have we thought about, more transit-oriented development concentrated downtown, and if we can integrate that into our long-term plan?
Yeah. The question was about TODs, or transit-oriented or transportation-oriented development, particularly downtown is what I heard you kind of ask. So yes, also within the plan, we talk about corridors more than stations or areas. Certainly downtown or Old Town is an area we envision to, in fact, there's some media stories out there just this week about downtown and some potential projects downtown that would be transit supported. We don't have, as far as density goes and uses go, a lot of Meridian is 3-4 dwelling units per acre. I think we're 4.1, I think, is our average dwelling units per acre. You can't run buses very efficiently when everyone lives on a 8 or 10,000 square foot lot. So there are some areas though. 10 Mile is another one where we're really looking at having some intensity, some land use intensities. The Overland Corridor, Fairview Avenue, again, kind of the Village, Eagle Fairview, kind of that Eagle Corridor as well. So it's more corridors than stations that you may be familiar with kind of around the rest of the country. But yes, it is something, again, in the draft plan, I would encourage you to go to the transportation section, review some of the corridors we're looking at. But it's definitely a big part of the plan.
I did. I have a follow-up question. Have we set up a timeline, and does the City of Meridian and the council and everyone intend on adopting a plan before or after the election?
I'm sorry, yes, I did cover that. I think I meant to in the timeline slide that was near the beginning, so thank you. And the mayor kind of alluded to this as well. We're kind of coming to the end of this, or at least what we think is the end. We get a bunch of feedback from the public that says, whoa, 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 this document does not represent our vision. We step back. But the plan right now is through August 5th to take those comments from the public, make the tweaks, that I hope are tweaks and changes to the plan, clean that up a little bit, submit it to our Planning and Zoning Commission first with an anticipated hearing date in October. And then, assuming they make a recommendation to the City Council sometime in November, certainly before the end of the calendar year is our goal. We have consultant help. They're only planning to get paid through the end of this year. So that's the current goal and timeline.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? If not, I'm going to pass the mic. After I think, is that?
Good job.
We are getting set up, but I do want to also mention that we have the Meridian Library District in the back room. So before you exit tonight, if you want to stop by and see what they're up to, they always have great things happening at the Meridian Library District. They are national awardees. Lots going on for good reason. So be sure to stop by and say hi to them before you leave.
that better for the sound? Well, while we get set up, I can get going. Good evening, everyone. My name is Arthur Ortegon. I'm the Government Partnerships team for BIRD, and we are excited to be here in Meridian. So I'm here to kind of just talk about basic overview of who we are, what you're going to see come August 1st, and then kind of start to field some of the questions that I'm sure you are all aching to throw my way. So while I go through this presentation, please ask when you have it. I want this to be a dialogue. That is a key thing that we talk to the mayor, council, staff about, that the way that these programs really are successful is to have that dialogue with the community, right? Because we are here to support you and how you guys move, and that only happens with the feedback. And we have certain tools and features that help us do that. That doesn't work. Like there's a connect. It's cool. I'll drive it to you. Thank you, sir. So this is going to be what we kind of go through: BIRD's experience, technology, equipment, reporting, plan strategies, and then we're going to do a demo for those who want to jump on one here when we're done. So our experience: we were founded in September 2017. Our CEO spent a lot of time in the transportation sphere, and he really had the epiphany that when he realized that the Ubers and Lyfts, all called the TNCs, were really successful in one of the goals that they set out, but they also completely failed in another goal they set out. The goal that they were successful in is shifting the mentality of society, of getting people out of their own cars into other people's vehicles, creating this kind of ride share concept, right? If you would have told my parents' generation or one before me that you were going to start to get into strangers' vehicles on a weekly, daily basis, they would have thought you were crazy. But that is the reality today. So that really was a big shift in how people moved. But where they really failed was that they started to put more cars into the oversaturated transportation infrastructure that we see. They really thought that creating this ride-share concept was going to take some of those cars off the road, that it was going to prevent single occupancy vehicles, those SOVs, right? But they really didn't. As we all know, it put more vehicles into there. So my CEO really was, how can we take this ride-share concept and really move to like lower congestion, and hence scooters. It was through this kind of quirky story that I'll tell later about his girls on Christmas and how they really kind of flocked to bikes, but then moved to scooters later. But that was really the epiphany. The other thing that he really took away from his time as a transportation is realizing that 50% of all car trips are about 5 miles and under. So when we talk about BIRD, we say that we are a micro-mobility company. And what that means is we're not trying to do the long trips. We're not trying to be, long trips of hauling big things. We're really looking for that 5 miles and under. So our average ride on a scooter is about 1.5 miles. That takes about 10 minutes. And so we'll get into the specifics about that. But our mission is really to take cars off the road so we can lower carbon emissions and prevent that congestion that Caleb kind of alluded to earlier. So once again, we started in September 2017, not even 2 years old. We launched 10 scooters in Santa Monica that fall of 2017. Not 2 years later, we are now operational in nearly 100 cities, 10 countries worldwide, and we have seen over 30 million rides on BIRD scooters alone. So when we say that the growth in this industry is unprecedented, and I know that word is thrown out a lot, we really mean it. This is the kind of growth and the kind of demand that we've seen is unbelievable. There is this latent demand in a lot of our communities that they want to get out of cars and move in a different way. We have just never really provided them the option to do so. And that's what we're really doing here. And so, how does it work? Come Thursday, I believe, August 1st, you're going to wake up and you're going to see 150 of these on the ground. What happens is you walk up to one, you have to download the app, of course. You walk up to one, and when you open up the app, this is what it will look like. Each one of these is a scooter. You walk up, you hit this ride button, and it opens up your camera, and there's a QR code. You scan the QR code, and then it starts a tutorial. The first time you ride, you're going to see this kind of tutorial. And it teaches you, say Friday, how to start one, where to ride, where to park, where geofences are. I was talking to Steve, the parks guy. He wants to make sure that we take care of the parks, and those are places that we want to protect as well. So everyone who has ridden a bird for the first time has to go through this educational program that is on the app. Once you do that, it unlocks, it chirps at you, unlocks, you get on it, you kick it 2 or 3 times, we'll teach you how to do it up there, and then you get going. Once you get to the end of your destination, you have to take a picture of where you park, because we want to ensure that parking is a big part of the education and what we ensure to prevent cluttering and make sure people are being good citizens when they're using these things, because that is one of the biggest issues, is we want to make sure that we are taking care of the public right away. That was the big agreement that we had with the city, and we want to hold up our end and making sure that we're taking care of our city. And so making sure people are parking appropriately is a big component of what we do. And so, you park, take a picture, and then you move on. And then that cycle just keeps moving. So we operate from 7 a.m. to, I think, kind of dark. We're figuring out the exact time. And once that happens, once we shut it down at, say, like 7, 8, 9 p.m. when it gets dark, it turns into a bounty for our chargers. And that's the operational side, where people pick them up, take them home to inspect, maintain, charge them, and redeploy them to designated nests the very next day. Once someone does that whole process, that's when they get paid. So that is the key component of how we rebalance and make sure that if you are accustomed to finding a scooter at one place on one corner, that every morning you're going to find it there. So the key, what differentiates Bird from the rest of our competitors is really our vehicle. So once again, our CEO started this trend. He was the one that came up with the idea, but we really didn't know, were people going to ride scooters, right? When he put those 10 birds out in Santa Monica, we didn't know if people were going to ride. So he basically bought scooters off Alibaba, off Amazon, to just see if people would ride it. They were residential, they were not commercial grade. And so what we realized once we saw this latent demand, that we had to design and engineer our own vehicles to take that demand, to make, because we see from different communities, these things ridden about 5 to 10 times per day. Those residential scooters cannot last with people riding them that much every day. So what we did is we signed an exclusive with the manufacturer, and we designed and built our own scooters, and those are the scooters you're going to see here in Meridian. So like they're lower center of gravity, wider tires, more stable base, better braking. You cannot buy these off any Alibaba or Amazon because they are designed and engineered for this rideshare concept. So they are reliable, they're safe. We have not had any vehicle recalls, any hacking, anything that has plagued some of our other operators because we have been able to design this ourselves. So we're going to get into the plans and strategies and how we're going to implement here in Meridian. So first and foremost, we're going to launch on August 1st with 150 birds. And then we're going to utilize what's called smart sizing. And basically that is using utilization, rider demand to determine how big the fleet's going to get. We have a cap from the city of 500, but in between that 150 and 500, we're going to use that determination of how often they're ridden to know how many we need to put out. Because of that charter system that I described earlier, we have the ability to determine the size of the fleet every day. Because we take them off, we rotate them in, and then we put them back out. And so if we see utilization above 3, then we're going to ask for permission to continue increasing to that cap. And if it's anything like our neighbors in Boise, we're going to get to that cap pretty quickly here. So a big component to ensure that people are using these things appropriately, making sure they're being good citizens, is really the educational part. Once people start to know how to use these things, once the novelty wears off, we really start to see incidents and complaints kind of drop pretty steeply. So we pay a lot of attention to ensuring that we are constantly educating riders on how to do these things properly. There's a rider onboarding, that was the kind of how do you use it. You can always access that tutorial that the first time you ride it, you're forced to go through it. It is always in the app if you want a refresher and understanding what the local rules are or what is very specific about Meridian and how to use it here. The rider tutorials, that's where to park. We want to make sure that you know how to park, make sure that you are on not the furniture side of the sidewalk and not blocking pedestrian walkthroughs, or you're not parking in the street, right? These are where the rules are on how to park. Local rules, those are very specific city designated rules that we have to put in there. You can find those as well. Ride level messaging, this is when you're riding, they can kind of give you instructions on, hey, here's a good place to park if you really want it to kind of push and nudge people's behavior, because that's also a big component of this. It's like we have to keep pushing on people's behavior and making sure that they act appropriately, right? That we incentivize good behavior, but we also kind of penalize bad behavior. And there's a certain platform, like if you are a constant, if you create problems constantly, we can send alerts, send you emails. If you don't park appropriately, and we know that, we'll let you continually educate you on how to park, all the way up to suspending and terminating you on the account. So we want to make sure that you are using these things well. End of ride photo is a big one for us, right? It really is these kind of cues to the rider to make sure that they're using it well. And so one of the things is when you're done, you have to take a picture, and we're adapting what that looks like on our end on how we enforce that. And that's getting a lot quicker and making sure that we can go back and ensure, like, if someone's complaining, we know we can tag that to someone's account and start to do this kind of educational side to it. Community mode is one of my favorite features, because this actually came out of a partnership with cities and what we really wanted to do. When we're talking about education, I don't want to say it's easy, but we have methods to get to our users. But we really don't have methods before community mode to get to non-users, right? And those are some of the people who are the most impacted by our product. So what we did is create community mode. And this is a feedback system that if you have the app on the bottom right-hand corner, you can alert us of issues. If someone's parked inappropriately, not riding appropriately, or if there's an incident, whether you are a user or not, whether you are a bird rider or not, you can get us that information and we can start triaging. Instead of going to local law enforcement or going to the city first, you can alert us to the complaint, and then we will start triaging and making sure we correct what just occurred. So community mode is a great method for us and a great feature for us on how we create this dialogue with the community to ensure, like, is it parking? Is it sidewalk riding? We don't know what the issues are that will crop up in Meridian until we launch and start to see, and then we can start problem solving, because we do have the solutions for a lot of those. Because once again, we use that experience of being in over 100 cities that we can bring to Meridian to solve for whatever comes here. Maintenance and reporting, this is the operational side. So the customer support, we have, back at headquarters, we have a 100+ member team where it's 24/7 issues, complaints, where once we receive a complaint, we immediately get it, and within 24 seconds, and then we start to triage within 5 minutes. That means if you see an issue like an improperly parked bird, you let us know. We already have the ground crew notified within 5 minutes to go solve or pick that up. And we have this remove vehicle within 2 hours. That just gives us time, because on the ground, things happen, people get in the way, traffic happens, right? But we know these issues once they come in within 5 minutes that we are triaging that. And what makes that possible is we have a regional service center in Boise. That is not just for Boise, that is going to service Meridian as well. That's where the maintenance happens, that's where the mechanics will be. So it allows us to rotate our fleet in a more efficient and effective way, so that when birds are on the street of Meridian, they are reliable, they are safe, and they're ready to use. So a key component to what Bird is we are a real transportation option trying to solve a key issue here. And the only way you can do that is to ensure that anyone and everyone who needs that micromobility option or first and last mile has that option. And that includes low-income transportation deserts. And so we have the most robust equity program, and it really starts with bird access. Anyone who receives a city, state, or federal grant, be it a Pell Grant, be it TANF, be it utility assistance, you are then eligible for this program, which gives you 50 free rides that are under 30 minutes for a subscription price, like for $5, $6. And so we want to make sure that we are providing our option to those who need it, not just the core downtown, but those on the outskirts of town who really need to get to their destinations. Red Riding Bird, that's for our veterans and military. So to ride a bird, it's $1 to unlock, and then it's 31 cents per minute after that. So that average of 1.5 miles turns into about $3. For the Red Riding Bird, we waive that $1. So it really drops, it already makes an affordable option even more affordable for our military veterans. We also have the ability for unbanked for those who don't have credit cards or smartphones. So once again, we want to create a system that allows anyone who needs our service has the ability to get it. Because as Kayla was talking about, transportation costs are one of those key factors that people don't really understand how much it costs to move. And creating this micromobility affordable option for residents, we believe that is why we have seen this latent demand explode, not just in America, but across the globe. So part of it is that dialogue of being out in the community. We want to be here. We want to hear from you. We want to teach you. And so we're going through we started, but in the next 2 weeks, we're going to show up to writing events, and this is one of them. We call this Share. This is a national, campaign that we're running right now. I think we're in over 100 cities doing this. And because of our launch here, we added Meridian. And so we will be in Settlers Park Saturday, 11 to 2. If you don't do a demo here or you want to get home, please show up and we'll happily give you a helmet, teach you how to ride, and it should be fun. So that's the end of it, but I'm sure there's questions, so please let me know the other thing. Chief?
Part of the control of having 18-year-olds and above use them was the access to a driver's license, access to a credit card, thinking younger crowds would not have those. You just listed 2 options where you don't need a credit card. So how do we prevent the younger groups from going and buying these cash cards or going and texting these, hey, I need a ride?
Sure.
How do we keep the under 18s using those 2 options?
Great question. So for the live streaming, and the question from the chief was, how do we prevent those 18 and under from riding these things when there's certain features that could help make that a reality? You first have to have an account to do those things. And so we have age verification. You have to be 18 years or older because that's one of the safety features. So, and we are because that is a general issue we're working through. So one of the things that we are internally doing is one account for one ID. So an issue that we see is parents unlocking for their kids. And so when you have one account for one unlock, that prevents them from doing that. And so, but the age verification is really the key to preventing. You won't have an account. You can't do any of those kind of equity programs if you don't have an account. Because when you do, like, say, the unbanked, you go to a retailer and you give them cash and they put it into the account. If there's no account there that has already been age verified, it's not going to work, right? So they have to have an account first, and that's where that age verification comes in. But we are working hard to ensure that those under 18 are not riding, because that is a big safety issue. We want you to know the rules of the road, because these are real transportation options operating in the street, and we don't want kids, because that is a safety issue.
So follow up. Age verification, how are you doing that? Because age verification Facebook, 13 and above, and there's 8-year-olds and 9-year-olds on Facebook. So what sort of age verification are you used? Because how do you know these people? How do you know that they're actually that? How do they know they're answering correctly? How do you know that parents aren't setting that economic for them?
I mean, that's a difficult problem to solve, but that is something we are, if a parent is sitting there unlocking a scooter or setting up an account, that's really difficult to prevent, right? But if we see that, if we see a young kid riding, and then we, through that community mode and just through our own data, we know that a young kid is riding, then we can flag that account and figure out, wait, did they go through the age verification or did it go through an account? So we have mechanisms to go back and find out, and those are the kind of, reward good behavior, punish bad behavior. And if you see that, if community sees that, that becomes an issue, we can start to work on how to prevent that.
I don't want to dominate.
Please.
I don't want to dominate this. But
No, you're good.
So Boise just recently released their new rules where they're going to put identification numbers on these birds.
Yeah.
So we can quickly identify who the senders are.
Mhm.
Is that something that the scooters in Boise, Meridian are going to have too? Because I can say that, hey, there's a young driver that's riding this, but if you have 150 scooters, how are you going to be able to narrow into the fact that it was scooter number 5 that had the offender?
So the unique ID is an interesting evolution because the answer is that unique ID is not the right solution, and we talked to Boise about that. So when you open up community mode and you're like, I just saw a kid driving by. When you open it up and you're like, underage driving, what it will show you is around your area, the rides that were there, and then you can identify, yeah, that looks like the path that person was traveling. Flag that, and that will tell us who was on that. That on this scooter, it started here, ended here, and it was this account. You get me? Well, yeah. So that helped, the unique ID, it's a lot harder because, they are zipping by. Are you going to remember the 6-digit code? But the community mode is really the solution there.
Wouldn't
Yeah.
Wouldn't you agree that the number, why are you against the
We're not against it. We have ID numbers on all scooters right now.
why are you just said you didn't like it?
Well, I just don't think they're effective for that mode. Like when you were a scooter zipping by, are you going to remember that's 6? It's hard when you're in a car and you're following a license plate, right? The community mode, we have the technology to know that this scooter is acting this way, and that is a more appropriate, what we think is more appropriate. Like to have these kind of big numbers, it's just not as effective. So Denver tried that, and the city themselves realized that's not really a good method, and they actually pulled it off. Huh?
Can the numbers be small?
Well, then
You won't see.
then you won't see it.
You drive by.
Right. And to be clear, we have unique IDs on scooters
I'm
today.
talking about like the size of the number. I'm just talking about one versus 1,000 and one.
Well, so the reason is because the way we maintain our fleet, what will be in Boise, say with 150, aren't going to always just be the same 150. They need to be rotated in and out. So it isn't just like, here's a number from 1 to 150 and this is yours, Meridian, right? It is, we want to make sure that those on the ground are working and functional. That requires kind of rotating it in. So that's more appropriate. Okay, there we go.
Yeah, so you said that you don't know what issues will come about in Meridian.
Sure.
Where is your evidence that things like the community setting and whatnot actually are effective in solving issues before things go bad?
Great question. So the proof's in the pudding. So since we've launched that feature, we've received over 80,000 complaints through that feature, and it really helps us identify what the key issue is in each community. And it's not the same. Once again, through our experience, we know they kind of fall into 4 different buckets, right? Sidewalk riding, parking, right? Underage riding. Once we start to realize what the issue is that is kind of prevalent in Meridian, then that's how we start to solve. So it isn't a solve before the issue, it kind of helps us identify what it is, then we can start to triage and implement programs and features to prevent that, whatever that issue may be. You and then you and
Sure. I went on a bird last weekend. It was super fun. But it was a spontaneous decision. And one of the issues that I noticed is there wasn't a helmet readily available. Are you guys working on a solution to get more helmets out to people? Or for companies that mail them to you, thinking about a kiosk, what's your plan there?
That company you've heard that mail it, that's us. So we ship free helmets, you just pay the shipping. We highly encourage helmet use. It's hard to mandate because most places don't mandate like high schools having them, right? And we want to be treated the same rights and privileges and restrictions as a bike, right? But we highly encourage, and that's why we've given away hundreds of thousands of free helmets. And that's what we're going to be doing at the events out in the park. So we give them away, and we highly encourage it.
Do you have it as an option on the app?
Mhm.
Because I don't
Yep.
remember that.
Yeah, it's on there. It's on. I can walk you through it. Yeah, but it's there. You just have to pay for shipping, and we'll send a free helmet.
My friend and I were looking at the community reporting function or
Mhm.
the app, and what category under reporting would be underage riders? Because the damaged bird, badly parked bird, contact bird, is there something for underage?
Is there like another, like we can, once again, we're kind of before the launch, so not everything is ready up and running yet, but that's a good call out. We'll take that back to make sure that it's there.
So that's going to be a common problem in Meridian. I think we've all been.
Okay, good to know.
Just a couple of questions.
Please.
First of all, is there anything in place to try to keep scooters away from the schools? And then secondly, are you able to tell if the battery is charged from the app itself without actually having to go to the scooter and scan it?
Yes.
We run into that a
Yeah.
lot. in other
So
areas.
once again, if I had this thing, it'd be easier, but when you have that map and you have the bird logos on each scooter, once you click it, it'll let you know how much battery's there. You can actually reserve it too, because like one of the issues was like, people would be like, oh, I want that one running there type thing, but you can reserve it for like 5 minutes. So the first question about keeping away from schools. So one of the key technologies that we have is what's called geofence, where we can prevent scooters from either entering or we can slow down speeds. And if that becomes an issue because if there's a lot of kids and a lot of underage riding going to schools, that is something that we can do from a technology app point of view, that we can kind of geofence those off and make sure that you can do no rides where you can't start or you can't end a ride there. There's various features to that to prevent scooters in unwanted areas.
I have a quick question, couple. One actually about the geofencing. How fine of a grain can you get? Could you, let's say, geofence the sidewalk or change the speed on the sidewalk and other travel lanes to be 18 miles an hour?
Yeah, it's a great question. We're limited by just the GPS technology. So we can't get as granular as geofencing sidewalks yet. We are working on ways to augment GPS through Bluetooth and the phone to try to solve for stuff like that. I don't think that's ready yet, but that is a great call out, and we are working to get to a more granular operability for our geofences.
The second question is actually regarding liability.
Okay.
This may not be a fun topic, but I know San Diego has some umbrella requirements, umbrella insurance requirements per rider, riders as well, insurance riders. How are you shielding the city of Meridian from liability?
So we have an agreement, a franchise agreement that includes insurance, includes indemnity, and so a lot of that liability is there. The city attorneys are the ones who drafted it, so they certainly protected the mayor and council well. But yeah, I'll leave it at that.
I don't know if this was you, could be one of the competitors in
Sure.
Boise, and so I was just asking
Please.
educational question. There's some areas that are restricted from scooter rides in Boise
Yeah.
that aren't geofenced. And so when a rider will actually go into those areas, then they get generated a fine back. And I know a couple people have actually ridden into restricted areas where they've been billed an additional $12 fine. Is that your company or some other company?
That is not our company.
Just curious.
That was a company. They're trying to gain compliance for various reasons.
Through non-geofencing because technology's not available to their app or something.
You said that, not me.
Yes.
I'm sorry. Last time I was in downtown Boise, I was kind of shocked and dismayed. The black markings, or I call it skid marks and weedy marks, and the sidewalks like around Jump and just to the downtown core. Is that just inevitable to the tires of the scooters have to put off those black marks? You know what I mean?
I do. I don't know if it's inevitable, because we don't necessarily see that in many other communities. Something about Boise, like, that is one of the ordinance changes that just got passed, that basically, that if you are found doing it, it is a misdemeanor. So they made it, a real law enforcement,
It's like there's
real harsh.
spinning cookies, I mean,
Right,
it's like
right.
street art.
Right. I think the key component there, once again, is the education. These things belong in the street and not the sidewalks. These are real transportation options that are meant to move people in a very real way. That they're not a toy. And get them off the sidewalks, into bike lanes, into roads, because that's where they belong.
Where in other cities have you succeeded with similar population demographics?
Meridian? Let me think about that. I can get back to you on that. But what we have seen a lot of success in is, there's the main regional hub of Boise, and then expansion markets off of it, right? Because what makes sense for us is once we have operations up and running, that we can then get to those lower. It's easier with like less dense areas, but we believe Meridian's gonna be a great market for us.
Do you ever work with the cities to lower costs for use in particular neighborhoods, particular areas to encourage people to use that type of transportation? So in a particular corridor in the city, maybe the rides will cost a little less or something along those lines. If there ever was to be, like say Boise, for example, in the stadium area, or like when we were downtown for the Garth Brooks concert, people were using them everywhere because they were parking, a mile away. And so for convention areas or districts where there might be, large meetings held, is there ever a way that the city can coordinate with the company to incentivize people to use those from a cost standpoint?
I don't think we've ever done anything, but that's an interesting thought. And once again, we are open, if that is something that makes sense here, we are open to all suggestions on how to best be utilized and operate in your city. And if that's, I know the Garth Brooks concert was awesome for us. We know a lot of rides happened.
Yeah, they were everywhere.
Saw your hands up. You good? If anyone has any questions after this, please, I'll stick around. We want to do demos, so please feel free to ask. And thank you, Mayor. We are excited to be here. We're excited to bring our service to you, and look out for us come August 1st.
Okay, well, thank you for joining us. Are there any questions that you came loaded with tonight that you wanted to ask that you haven't already had a chance to? Okay, well, we appreciate your time. We value that. And we want to thank you for joining us. Have a good evening.